Hello and welcome to the AC tapes. This is me doing basically workshopping my show Delivering the Impossible, which is going to run at the Clover Studio, Greenside at Riddles Court. That's venue 16, from the 12th to the 24th of August, 1:45 p.m. Every day, but not the middle of Sunday, not the 18th. And what I'm going to talk about today is a bunch of why questions. I was very happy with the thing that I did yesterday, where I talked about subjects in terms of various prompts: true, false, weird, rant, and need a word for. I'm going to take my shoes off and then I'll be quieter. And so I've got a friend who's a very successful author, has written 12 books. He's also a professor of history. And I think this was during the pandemic. He ran a course on how to write non-fiction books. And part of one section of that course, his name's Richard Toye, by the way, I didn't mention his name. One section of this course was about how to write an introduction. And so Richard suggested a bunch of questions that you should answer in the introduction, which is a good way of getting started in the introduction to a non-fiction book. And so I'm going to steal this idea and use it for how to do an introduction to a non-fiction show. Now, one of the things that I liked about doing prompts yesterday was that it felt very free, felt very easy, but it kind of got me talking in a very good way. And I like the fact that I didn't take them in any particular order, the subjects. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to answer these 4 why questions, but I'm not going to take them in any particular order. So, right. Again, I've got them in bits of paper, and you're just going to have to trust me that I'm not cheating. Why this? So why am I talking about this? Why am I talking about software development project management? I'm talking about software development project management because I think it's a very important thing for... No, that's not the reason. Oh, God. Okay. So, yes, why this? Why this approach? I was just about to battle on into why now. So why this approach? Well, the approach that I take in the book and the approach that I take in this show is to talk about software development and talk about especially project management and software development as something that can be seen from a bunch of different points of view. And I take my inspiration for this idea of looking at things from different points of view from a chap called Alan Kay. Now, Alan Kay is a pioneer in software development. He worked at something called the Xerox Palo Alto Research Center. And you might not have heard of the Xerox Palo Alto Research Center, but you'll certainly have heard of a whole bunch of things that came out of the Palo Alto Research Center in the late 70s, like the mouse on your computer, the graphical user interface, the laser printer, Ethernet. All of these things came out of the Palo Alto Research Center in the late 70s. And Alan Kay was one of the people who worked there. He was very much one of the creators of something called object-oriented software, which is a very important part of how software gets written. But the thing that he said that inspired me was, point of view is worth 80 IQ points. And what did he mean by that? What did he mean by that point of view is worth 80 IQ points? What he meant was that if we can look at something in the right way, then we can be much smarter about it. We can. There are things that become obvious about something if we look at it in the right way that otherwise wouldn't be obvious. And so what I try and do in the book and what I try and do in the show is to talk about some different ways of seeing projects that help us be smarter. Now, there's an obvious downside to this notion that point of view is worth 80 IQ points, which is that if you look at something in the wrong way, then you can be very dumb about it. Rather than like these extra IQ points getting added, 80 IQ points get taken away. Now, for most of us, most average people, an additional 80 IQ points would mean that we're geniuses. But to take away 80 IQ points would mean that we're pretty dumb. I'm just going to take a sip of my tea now. Never enough ice. So that's the basic idea of this book. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this, I'm talking about different ways of looking at software development project management so that you can have a better chance of succeeding, so that you can be smarter in how you think about projects.